Good morning. It is March 20th, 2020, and I hope this video finds everybody well. I've had a couple of little fits and starts trying to get this thing going this morning. And just as a disclaimer, the purpose of this video is enrichment only. There's no requirement to watch it. I have no requirement to make it. Come join us here. Don't join us here. You should be doing what you need to be doing during this time. So we've finished up Macbeth, and or we finished it as well as we can. You can refer to some of my other videos to see what I've had to say about it. And now we need to be talking about what does one do with Macbeth now that we're done with it. And so you get a prompt like this. Select a novel, play, or epic poem that features a character whose origins are unusual or mysterious. Then write an essay in which you analyze how these origins shape the character and that character's relationship, and how the origins contribute to the meaning of the work as a whole. So it's important to point out that meaning of the work as a whole equals theme. Very important to point that out. And what is theme? Theme equals author's view of humanity. We've been through this. This is a review. And it's important to keep those things in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is the whole prompt. So you're given an idea whose origins are unusual or mysterious. All right, so unusual and mysterious, or mysterious. That's an important distinction to point out. And then you're going to write an essay in which you analyze how these origins shape the character and that character's relationships, and how the origins contribute to the meaning of the work as a whole. This is a tough prompt because there's a lot to sort through. There's a lot to unpack. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to kind of touch on was the idea that, let's see, what have we read this year? We've read Raisin in the Sun. We've read Metamorphosis. We started Macbeth. And, you know, and that's pretty much where we got. That's pretty much where we got. We were going to read Great Gatsby. We were going to read that, but we didn't get time. So this is you're going into the AP exam. This is kind of what you have to work with. Plus you have whatever you read last year or whatever you've happened to read. There are some. You look at this list, and let's see. I've read this one. I tried to read. I tried that. This one I tried. I couldn't get into it. The movie was awful. I've read parts of that. I read parts of that. That one I've never read. No, I read that in my senior year. Or parts of it. Iliad, it's just been too long. Importance of Being Earnest, I've read. Jane Eyre, I couldn't get into. Couldn't get into that. I've absolutely read that. This I've never heard of. Hey, we read that. We read this one. We read this one. So when you're looking at the open question, there's no need to freak out. I mean, the odds are you're going to find something we read on there or something you recognize. This one here, I just want to point out, this is actually part of a trilogy by Margaret Atwood. I read the book that I read the second part of this trilogy, The Year of the Flood, which, quite frankly, with everything going on right now, would scare the hell out of you. The Year of the Flood. Very cool book. Lots going on there. But anyway, now we're wandering off topic. But so I don't recognize any of these. I mean, I recognize that one, right? But there's two here we do recognize. Today we're going to be talking about, okay, so I've read Macbeth. How would I use Macbeth to answer a prompt like this? So who has Does Macbeth have an unusual or mysterious origin? Well, we don't. Not a lot is known about him. Where he's from, how he rose to power. You could look at Macbeth, or you could, if you've read the play, which hopefully you all have. Somebody that does have an unusual origin is Macduff. Because remember, Macduff, it's not, you're not going to see that. Let's see if I can get my face out of there. There we go. That's better. Macduff does have a mysterious origin, because Macduff was untimely ripped from his mother's womb. He was not technically of woman born. So he does have a mysterious origin. And so if you're going to approach Macduff, you've got to track him. How did that origin shape the character? How does it shape Macduff? And that character's relationships. All right, so this Macduff is part of one of Shakespeare's tropes. That is, the natural order is out of joint. The natural order has been out of things, and for someone to be born to be untimely ripped from their mother's womb, what they're hinting at there is a C-section, although C-sections aren't new in human history. What is new is living from them. So living through them. So the fact that Macduff does not have, quote-unquote, a natural origin, there's something about him that's unnatural. So his unnaturalness enables him to take on Macbeth and, in fact, reset the natural order, because he's an X factor. And then remember, at the end of the play, Macduff resets the natural order. He doesn't claim the crown for himself. He puts the crown upon Malcolm. So if you're tracking Macduff, you can talk about how his unusual origin granted him power to take on Macbeth, to take down Macbeth. You could talk about that. You could talk about how that his origin and his relationships with his wife and kids. He leaves them. He leaves them to go to England and gather up support to take down Macbeth. So you could make some arguments there about how his unnatural origin made him distant from his family. I mean, he was upset when they died, obviously, because he wanted to take down Macbeth, but it made him distant. It set him apart, and that separateness was an element that allowed him to eventually take down Macbeth. I mean, you could also approach it from the standpoint of Macbeth, as in not a lot is known about him, and because he doesn't have much of a backstory, and it starts right in the middle. Basically what you do is you plug a character in and you track him through these things. So not a lot is known about Macbeth's origins. It's presumed that there's a hint that there may have been a child in their past, but there's no little Macbeth running around, and that could contribute to Lady Macbeth's cruelty. It could contribute to Macbeth's emptiness. Macbeth is an empty vessel that the witches are able to pour thoughts into him. Lady Macbeth is able to pour thoughts into him, and that contributes to the meaning of the work as a whole. And again, there's themes. So we can talk about ambition. We can talk about order, the nature of order. We can talk about how one lives their lives, and realize that I'm sitting here all the time in the world recording a video. You're sitting in an exam, God willing, and you've got to be thinking about all these things. But the crucial step is to plug the character in and walk them through each thing. How does it shape the character? That means how does it characterize them? What does it say about them? How does it shape the relationships? So Macduff if we're talking about Macduff, he has an unusual origin. It makes him separate and distant. That separateness and distance is ultimately bad for his family because he's gone when his house is attacked, but that separateness and distance enables him to eventually take down Macbeth, which contributes to the idea that the natural order must be set back, which is pretty big in Shakespeare's plays. But remember, meaning of the work as a whole is theme. And you want to stay away from topic. You want to stay away from topic. So if you're just saying contributes to the idea of ambition, well, ambition does what? Ambition drives people. It reveals people. It's an example of behavior. It contributes to the idea of order. Well, order what? Order must be restored. Order can be put out of joint. It contributes to the meaning of the work as a whole. How one lives their lives. What does that mean? How one lives their lives affects their lives. So making sure you walk through all the steps of a prompt like this is really important. Also, trust that you've read something that can answer these prompts. So one of comparable literary merit. There's a lot of really great ones out there that you may have read, that you might have read in AP Lang last year or in 10th grade that can answer these. But we've read two right here, Macbeth and Metamorphosis. I mean, Gregor certainly has an unusual origin. He's turned into a bug, and that becomes an entirely new essay when you start writing about that. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap up today. Not a lot to say. If you happen to like what we're doing here, like and subscribe. And I hope this finds everybody well. And once again, these are here purely as enrichment. That's the disclaimer. You got to have the disclaimer. And people are doing what they need to be doing right now, and God bless them. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up there. Hope everybody's staying safe. I look forward to seeing everybody soon. I love all of you, and reach out via email if you have any questions or just want to chat. Can we do that? I'm not entirely sure. Reach out if you need to. I'm here for you. All right, thank you, and as always, cheers.